I'm Colin Shawn, CEO of Coppertree Solutions. Today I'm going to talk about the Canadian government's cybersecurity standards. For a lot of organizations today in Canada, there's not currently a cybersecurity standard that is required to be met. In some certain regulated industries, there is definitely some standards, but for most organizations, there's no real mandatory requirement to meet any kind of cybersecurity legislation or standards. And I think that's going to change, and the Canadian government has actually started to develop a program that I believe is going to eventually become a mandatory component, particularly in the beginning when dealing with government, and probably at some point just as a standard business practice. Your organization will be required to meet some kind of a cybersecurity standard. So what they're working on is there's some very sophisticated standards and very in-depth standards that are available. And in certain industries, organizations are required to be compliant with those, say ISO 27001 or SOC 2 or NIST, for example. And what the government of Canada has done is they've looked at those standards and they said, we think we can get about 80% of the benefit with about 20% of the work. So they've put together a new standard that's it's a subset of some of the larger standards where they take the most beneficial components and they developed a new standard. So we're seeing that now being brought in. You can apply for that. You can have somebody come in and audit your system against that standard. You can get a certificate that says you're compliant. There's a lot of benefit to aligning yourself with a standard. I'm expecting to see more and more suppliers and various different organizations requiring some kind of an IT security standard compliance in order to do business with them. As we look at where this is going, it may be wise to start to align yourself with one of those standards and be ready when the time comes. When you think about adopting a cybersecurity standard, a lot of people think about just the technology side of things, and it's really a lot more than just the technology. Obviously, you're going to need to have good tools in place from an IT perspective. You need the right kind of equipment, you need the right firewalls, you need the right kind of security software. But the cybersecurity standards are more about procedures and processes. It's more about having good policies and good procedures and being able to show that you're following those, being able to audit the procedures that you have. And it's really about a mindset and thinking about technology and how you manage it, how you leverage it in your organization, and being able to prove that you've thought it through and show that you have a plan in place for various different parts of IT. So, for example, you need to be able to show that you've got a good backup and disaster recovery plan in place. You need to have a change management process in place where you can look at what is the process if somebody's going to make some changes in your infrastructure. And it's really, when you think about a standard, it has more to do with the processes than it does with the actual technology itself. As you think about at some point in the future being required to implement an IT security standard, the benefit of being an early adopter is that it'll be much easier to become compliant at some point in the future. There's some very real benefits to putting a standard in place and becoming compliant with it. Gives you another level of peace of mind around your IT security. And ultimately, down the road, if you have a vendor that approaches you or a supplier that approaches you that requires you to be compliant in order to do business with them, you'll be in a place where it's very quick and easy to take the audit and become compliant. An IT security standard is really all about standard operating procedures. Do you have a documented method of doing certain tasks, and can you prove that method is being followed? Is there some kind of a regular check that's happening to make sure that method is being followed? It's a way to make sure that everyone in your organization follows the same steps. And the flip side of that is everybody kind of does things how they think is best. And the result of that typically is that, there's things that are maybe doors that are left open and security risks that are introduced by not having a standard procedure. Here at Coppertree, our core business model is really around helping our clients achieve IT success. And part of that is developing IT standards that we audit our clients against on a regular basis. So we've developed our own standards. We've borrowed from a lot of the IT security standards that are out there. And so as we do our regular maintenance work and we work with our clients on an ongoing basis, we're already implementing a framework that forms the foundation for an IT security framework to be adopted. There's a lot of work already being done behind the scenes with our clients to leverage the IT security standards. But if you truly want to adopt them, there's more that needs to be done. There's more work that needs to be done, particularly around the policies and procedures side of things. It's something that most organizations don't really have the expertise to implement themselves. So as you look at how do you implement these frameworks, you're probably going to need a partner of some kind, somebody like Coppertree, to come in and guide you down this path. There is some policies that can be developed on your behalf, and then there's also some processes and procedures that will need to be developed in conjunction with your staff and implemented by your staff on a day-to-day basis. If your organization is not required to be compliant with something like NIST or ISO or SOC 2 or some standard like that, a good place to start might be the Cybersecurity Canada standard that's been developed in the last couple of years. And that's something that Coppertree can help you implement. We'll guide you through the process. We'll take the lead on developing the processes and developing the policies and implementing the technology. And really at the end of the day, the benefit to your organization is you get the certification, you get another level of peace of mind that your organization is as secure as it can be. I'm Colin Shantz, CEO of Coppertree Solutions. Thanks for joining me today as we talk about the Canadian government cybersecurity standards. To learn more, please visit our website at coppertreesolutions.ca.